But it's so weird that Obama in 2014, they can't have a power base in Bariloche today. What's the point? Unless it's because of family and friends and stuff like that.
Listen, I don't know. I personally tend to think that there's a lot of power base still there. All the indicators point to it. I mean, we've got an Argentinian pope following a German pope,
Oh,
which I
yeah.
think is just highly weird.
Very weird.
And he has his own, in addition to Ratzinger, Bergoglio has his own murky background. Uh,
And you know what? He's cleaning house in Vatican when it comes to the banking swindle and all that.
well,
So,
whoa. Do you know who he hired as the auditor for the Vatican Bank?
no. Who?
The same corporate accounting firm that is the auditor. Get this. Catherine and I researched this about a year and a half ago when she came through out in California. And we got talking about this. And so we decided we're going to go online and just find out what this company is. And I forget the name of it. But it's the same company that's the corporate auditor for Lloyd's of London. Okay.
That's trustworthy.
Yeah, that's trustworthy. But now get this. And the Bank of International Settlements.
Wow.
You want another Nazi connection?
Wow.
Yeah,
Jeez.
here it is. So, he says he's cleaning house,
Yeah.
but it looks to me like you're hiring the people that created the mess to go and
Yeah.
explain the mess.
Yeah, I was imagining it like, Jewish money against German money, but and that he was cleaning corruption from the Jewish faction, but
Who knows?
not Jewish Zionist, but no, yeah, I forget that he's Argentinian. That's actually a interesting clue.
Well, yeah, Cardinal Archbishop of Buenos Aires during.
Yeah, and he was accused. He's taking this meek role now. I'm on the side of the poor and desperate. But back then, he was accused of putting a blind eye to
Oh yeah,
what happened down
he
there.
was. Yeah, he was the Cardinal Archbishop during the junta. Galtieri and all that crowd. So I'm not convinced that he's any great popular common person's pope by any stretch of the imagination. I think there's something dirty. Let's put it that way. There's something dirty about the guy, and again, I find it highly suspicious. He's the one that follows Ratzinger. This whole thing just smells. But I do think there's some sort of power base still left there. Otherwise there would be no point for these people going down there. And the thing about Obama that struck me highly weird, Richard and I were talking about this on his show before he asked that question, and, everything went down on my end. The public story was that Obama was down there to talk to the new president of Argentina about space matters, and he takes this entire plane load of NASA people with him. And that didn't make much, it didn't get covered very well. It was mentioned once or twice, but he took all these advisors from NASA down there with him.
Yeah, but there's two fishy things here just on that. One, it's about space matters.
Yeah.
Can you spell Nazi UFOs?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was thinking.
And the second is, why does the king go to a subordinate?
Bingo.
Why doesn't the subordinate come to the king?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well, that's my point.
Yeah.
There's something going on down there, and it ain't what we're being told. And,
No. But there's one thing that pains me. We lost, which was in part 1, and I launched to you a hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
And your reaction was like, wow, yeah, you're onto something. I want us to recap that, because
Sure.
I think it's such an interesting hypothesis. So indulge me, and then I want your take on it.
All right.
Obviously, now I don't have the notes here, so I don't have all the details, but it's what I would call a conspiracy hybrid of Farrellism and Lewandology.
Jeez, okay.
And I'll explain. Because something is definitely amiss. Because you see, and I told you this, we have talked about this, that incredibly many American presidents have been down in Bariloche. And
Yes.
it goes back, I think in fact all of them were Democrats except for
Eisenhower.
Yeah, Eisenhower. So the people who went down there that we know was Truman. We know Obama. We know Bill and Hillary. We know Carter.
Yes.
I guess they didn't need to send Bush down because he was already in cahoots with them. Talk about senior here. Senior CIA Bush.
Yeah, probably. But not Kennedy.
Exactly. But isn't Kennedy the only Democrat missing after the war?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know why didn't Bush?
Well, I take that back. It may be Johnson too. I don't think Johnson did.
Oh yeah. But you see, Johnson, Bush, Nixon, they don't need to get them down there to get them over to their side, right?
No, not in Johnson's case. No.
No. So they need to have a serious debate with the new puppet.
Yeah.
And explain to them, what is where, right?
Yep.
So what I'm thinking here, something is definitely going on. Because every Democrat except JFK.
Yep.
So why wouldn't they invite him down? What if? In fact, I think he was. And I think he didn't want to go down and pay his respect to the shadow government of, who knows, Bormann and whatever's going on, a deal, a battle, a cooperation, who knows what they're doing down there. But what if JFK, because suddenly JFK, we're going to go to the moon and I'm going to clean up CIA, I'm going to cooperate with Khrushchev, we're going to expose the UFOs. What if he was onto, and he had inside information, his father was connected to the Nazis. I mean, they put his hopes on him and he turned on them.
Yeah.
So what if he, of all the reasons to kill him, of course, there's a million reasons, but what if he threatened to expose the whole thing? Hey guys, Hitler is still alive, or Bormann is still alive, they're running a show down there, this is what I'm getting at. That's my conspiracy hypothesis about this, that JFK may have threatened to expose the hidden Nazi state, or what you want to call it. That's a good reason to kill him too.
Yep, I agree.
So could he be taken out for not being on board?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
With that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's put it this way. As you know, I've always suspected that there is a Nazi angle to the JFK assassination. And I spent a lot of time in that book outlining very odd connections of people that hover around the JFK assassination to that group of veterans, let's say, down in South America, in and around the San Carlos de Bariloche. But I'll tell you, for me, Al, what really may have put the final nail in the coffin as far as their approval of the assassination and possible involvement in it may have been. And that, again, goes to what you've pointed out in Kennedy's, I think it was National Security Action Memorandum number 270 or 71, I forget the exact number, where he made good on his threat to smash the CIA into 1,000 pieces. And incidentally, since we're talking about this will play into Trump. But Kennedy, in threatening the CIA and smashing it into 1,000 pieces and turning over, this is the thing that really, I think, was the nail in the coffin as far as the CIA and the Nazis were concerned. Because he turned over the entire operations desk of the CIA, the covert operations desk, to the Pentagon, to the military. He took it out of the CIA's hands, number one. And number two, he made that directive to the CIA to go through all of their UFO files and pull out any cases that could be shared with the Soviets. Okay, this is a document that's there. And of course, in doing both of these things, what Kennedy was also doing was he was taking away the front behind which this group of Nazis was operating. Because let's remember, Gehlen at this time now, the Gehlen org is by this time rolled into the West German Bundesnachrichtendienst. So that group is still in existence. The CIA maintained cordial relationships with Gehlen. In fact, they even gave Gehlen a gala dinner in Washington, D.C. when he retired. So here we are, a bunch of CIA, Washington high society types giving this gala retirement dinner for a Nazi.
Grand Old Emeritus.
Yeah, for a Nazi general, you know.
What about NASA? Did they have ties or control over NASA too? NASA was full of Nazis.
Yeah. I think that definitely there was something going on there, because NASA actually was complaining at one point that von Braun and Strugholt and one of the most infamous of them, Artur Rudolph, who was actually the man that designed the Saturn V rocket. It was largely Artur Rudolph that led that design team.
So Operation Paperclip was a CIA project?
Yeah, Operation Paperclip was a U.S. Army intelligence project that was rolled over to the intelligence community after Truman creates the CIA and the NSA.
Right.
So, in other words, Kennedy, by taking aim at the CIA, is exposing and shattering the front behind which the Nazis have existed. Now, you've got to remember in this story also the work of Paul Manning, that book that he wrote, Martin Bormann, Nazi in Exile, all right? Because at the beginning of that book, Paul Manning, after concluding that, Bormann was alive and well, after concluding this, he shares the manuscript with Allen Dulles, who, of course, at this time is no longer director of the CIA, but he's still very, very well connected to the CIA and to the power centers in Washington, D.C., J. Edgar Hoover, and so on. So Manning shared the manuscript with Dulles, and he writes in the preface that Dulles handed it back to him and said, "You're on the right track." So in other words, this whole nest of Nazis down in Latin America, I think, was directly in Kennedy's target. And I think definitely that President Kennedy knew of the existence of this group, and that this was his indirect way of removing its influence in the United States.
Yeah. So I had Carter Heydrich on, and
yes,
during our talk with him, something interesting, he told me that Bormann and Dulles became acquaintance very early, already during the war.
Yes.
Now, we know, you told us in the missing part of the JFK, the first part, I think, that went into the ether. You told us that the murder weapon from Argentina, remember?
Yes.
Yeah. So we see, and we also know that in hunting Hitler, we know that Bormann was alive at least until the 60s.
Yes.
But even if he wasn't alive at that point, his successor certainly was.
Sure.
I think he died in the early 70s, but that's
I do too.
Topic for another discussion. And according to Heydrich, Dulles and Bormann recognized each other. And Bormann knew that when Plan B, when I need to save my ass here, Dulles is the guy to go to.
Right.
And Dulles recognized that Bormann is, because remember, before the war was over, Bormann wasn't that known. He was the spider after all, but Dulles knew he was the man who was controlling the Third Reich and Hitler. And so the big question is then, when JFK moves to remove Dulles,
yes,
and Dulles has already propped up this huge apparatus, CIA and all this, that he wanted to use and that he apparently couldn't use anymore. He goes to his old friend Bormann. Remember, Dulles is the guy who made the deal and got Bormann out. So, yeah, you can take it from there. What do you think? Dulles, Bormann, 60s?
Well, yes.
JFK?
I in the LBJ book, I pointed out that there are a number of other clues that have a definite Nazi connection, and that Bormann is kind of the spider, and his network is kind of the spider lurking in the background here. So let's review what some of those connections are.